On a quiet night in March 1993, 19-year-old Carmen Van Huss was found savagely murdered in her Indianapolis apartment. She had been sexually assaulted and stabbed dozens of times, and her killer had vanished without a trace. For over 30 years, the case haunted detectives and devastated her family, the trail growing colder with each passing year. But just when justice seemed out of reach, a breakthrough in genetic genealogy uncovered a chilling connection, one that would finally unmask the man who had evaded justice for 3 long decades.
It's Friday, and you're listening to MU Minis.
Hey MU crew, it's Melissa, and I want to welcome you to MU Minis, where every Friday we cover big crimes in a fraction of the time. Don't worry though, our full-length deep dives still drop every Tuesday. Be sure to hit subscribe and follow so you don't miss them. Now let's get into this week's mini. Carmen Hope Van Huss was born on October 9th, 1973, to parents James Van Huss and Andrea Phillips. Her parents divorced when she was young, but she remained close to both of them. Carmen was one of 4 children, having 1 sister and 2 brothers. She and her brother Jimmy were especially close. Carmen, who was a gifted artist, struggled a little bit in school and ultimately dropped out her senior year and obtained her GED. According to family and friends, Carmen was a huge animal lover and had become a savior to many stray cats over the years. She had hopes of becoming a veterinarian one day. In the night leading up to Carmen's murder, Monday, March 22nd, 1993, Carmen, her dad James, and one of her younger brothers had been visiting James's mother in the hospital. The trio left, and Carmen dropped her dad and brother off at their home around 10:30 p.m. that night. James, concerned about the 40-minute drive back to her apartment, asked Carmen to spend the night at his home, but Carmen declined, saying that she worked in the morning and needed to launder her work clothes. Carmen said goodbye to her family and drove towards the Turtle Creek Apartments on Harcourt Road in Indianapolis, where she shared a 3rd-floor apartment with her boyfriend. However, she would be returning to an empty apartment as her boyfriend was out of state. According to her neighbors, they heard Carmen arrive home at 11:30 p.m. as they could hear her talking and laughing with an unknown male. Just a few hours later, neighbors heard a commotion coming from Carmen's apartment. It sounded like a struggle, and they heard a woman's voice yelling, "Get off me," several times. Then, around 1:30 a.m., they heard someone running full speed down the apartment hallway, and then all was quiet. Not a single one of her selfish, inconsiderate neighbors called the police or even went to see if she was okay. Instead, they lodged noise complaints with the apartment property manager. This manager would later hang a notice on Carmen's door about the complaints, saying she needed to be more considerate of her neighbors, which seems horrifically ironic since her neighbors were clearly the least considerate people on the planet. Later that day, Tuesday, March 23rd, James tried calling his daughter a few times but never heard back from her. At this time, he was unaware that Carmen had not shown up for her waitressing shift at the local Pizza Hut. When Carmen didn't show up to her scheduled shift the following day, Wednesday, March 24th, the Pizza Hut employees grew concerned and decided to call Carmen's father. Hearing his daughter had missed 2 days of work immediately set off alarm bells for James, and he rushed over to his daughter's apartment. After knocking several times and receiving no response, James entered the apartment. The scene that awaited him was a parent's worst nightmare. His beautiful, creative, and caring daughter was lying partially naked on the floor, covered in blood. He immediately called police, and when they arrived, they were shocked at the level of violence. It would later be determined that Carmen had been sexually assaulted and stabbed over 60 times. Investigators believe the murder weapon was a screwdriver and/or a pocket knife. Upon examining the crime scene, police believe that Carmen knew her killer. There were takeout food containers and empty beer bottles, indicating that Carmen most likely shared a meal with her killer, and there had obviously been a struggle. Carmen, who was a very petite woman standing at just 5'2", had clearly fought for her life. Foreign DNA was found on Carmen's body and around the apartment, but the case went cold pretty quickly, and would remain cold for the next 30 years. Sadly, Carmen's father, James, passed away in 2002 in an automobile accident. he never saw justice for his beautiful, bright, and kind-hearted daughter. In 2018, authorities submitted the suspect's DNA to Parabon Nanolabs for profiling, and in 2020, it was run in the DNA database, but there were no matches, which meant that Carmen's killer did not have a criminal record. Finally, in 2023, the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department sent the foreign DNA from Carmen's case to Parabon Nanolabs for genetic genealogy. Parabon did not disappoint, and in late 2023, they had the name of Carmen's alleged killer, a 52-year-old man named Dana Jermaine Shepard, and he had been a neighbor of Carmen's at the Turtle Creek Apartments. This monster had even been spoken to by police at the time of the murder, but he was manipulative and slimy enough that he managed to fool investigators. In February 2024, investigators tracked Shepard down, who was living in Columbia, Missouri at the time, and took his DNA. Of course, this would take months to process, but finally, in August of 2024, Dana Jermaine Shepard was arrested for the brutal rape and murder of 19-year-old Carmen Van Huss. This murder remained unsolved for over 30 years until DNA evidence led to the arrest through genetic genealogy. As of the last update in September 2024, Shepard is in custody facing charges, and the case is moving through the legal system. While justice has been delayed, new forensic tools have finally given hope to Carmen's family, and now we await the next steps in court. That's all for this week's MU Mini. Tune in on Tuesday for our next full-length episode, and until then, stay safe, stay curious, stay unscripted.